I'm Don Mancini. I'm the creator of Chucky and the franchise, and I wrote and directed the new one, Curse of Chucky.
And I'm Alex Vincent. I play Andy Barkley.
I'm Brad Dourif. I play Chucky and Charles Lee Ray.
Great. And can you tell me a little bit about the new Chucky, Curse of Chucky?
I think that's you.
I'll take that one. Yeah. Well, this is the 25th anniversary of the first movie, which Alex and Brad starred in back in 1988. So for the 25th anniversary, what we really wanted to do with this film was to return Chucky to his straight-up horror roots after having done the horror comedy angle with Bride of Chucky and Seed. Fans had really been telling us for the last few years that they really wanted Chucky to be a viable threat again. So we really wanted to give the fans what they want, and we also wanted to sort of wrap it up in a nice bow in a way. I wanted to build in a real nostalgia factor with this film so that it would really be kind of a thank you to the fans who have supported us for 25 years.
That's cool. My first experience with Chucky was actually Bride of Chucky. I remember I was like probably 10 or 11, and I was at my friend's house, and his cousin snuck it down, and we watched it one night. Yeah. And like then that became like my youth of horror movies was like the self-referential horror, like Chucky,
right.
Bride of Chucky, and Scream and stuff. So now you went back to like the roots, like old school horror. What do you think of like the landscape of horror now?
Well, it's certainly the self-referential horror that you mentioned. I mean, that its day has passed, and I think, you know, after that we went into the torture porn cycle for a while. I think that's gone. I think now then the found footage genre. I think even that, well, I wouldn't say that's on the wane, but I think, you know, now what's really resurgent, I think, is gothic horror with The Conjuring and Insidious Part 2. You know, hopefully we're going to nicely ride that wave, because this movie, you know, is definitely in that vein.
So in this film, Chucky has a makeover. What do you think? Like, what was the reasoning for the new look of Chucky, and how did you decide on it?
Well, you know, it's difficult to answer that question without giving, you know, too much away about the story. I mean, Chucky, because of the specific situation that he's in, Chucky needs to ingratiate himself with these people before he can, you know, go on his, you know, ultimate killing spree. So his way of doing that is, as with the original film, he needs to look like a, you know, innocent-looking doll. So that's why we wanted, you know, to replicate the innocent good guy doll look from the first movie. You know, and then, you know, there's kind of an evolution of his look as he begins to reveal himself.
Okay. So how has Chucky changed all of your lives? Like, I mean, obviously there's a huge impact on each of yours, but can you tell me like a little bit about?
Well, I mean, I've been not only answering Chucky questions in my personal life since I was 6 years old, but I mean, I've spent the past 10 years putting myself out there to meet fans and travel and go to these different conventions and appearances and really immerse myself in this genre of film and meet really appreciative fans. I've gotten to travel, I've gotten to be places I never would have been otherwise. So, I mean, just the fact that I was in... I did other things when I was a kid, too. I'm yet to go to an As the World Turns convention. Like, that hasn't happened yet. I haven't been to a cereal commercial appearance in a long time. So yeah, I think Chucky's changed my life completely. I mean, whether I was resistant to the idea at certain times when I was a kid, younger or not, or as I've embraced it as I've gotten older, this has completely changed my life.
Well, you know, it sort of, you know, gave me a career, really. I wrote the first one when I was a student at UCLA and in the 80s, and, you know, franchise horror was really booming at that point with Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and, you know, I was a fan of all of those movies. So I wanted to write something in that vein. So I feel like I really won the lottery in a way by writing it, because I didn't really know it at the time, but you know, when you're a screenwriter working in Hollywood, you can pretty much rely on the fact that whatever you're writing, there are 20 or 30 people who are writing something very similar at any given time. So I feel very lucky that my script actually made it through the gauntlet that is the Hollywood development process, and actually, you know, made it to the finish line. And then the fact that I sold it and it got made and it was a hit and it spawned a franchise, you know, none of that stuff you can plan on. It's just like lightning striking. So I feel very fortunate.
You know, I certainly had a career before I did Chucky. I think of everything. Well, that's not even true. I could say that it didn't change my life, probably. I'm not a plastic 2-foot doll, and I don't get recognized as Chucky. People know I've done Chucky. It's kind of nice having something that I've done be that popular, and I have a sort of quiet satisfaction that I feel I'm very much contributed to that. I don't think, I think I brought to the voice a kind of life that was absolutely right for this franchise. Somebody else might have done it as well, but I did it.
Yeah, no one else could have done it as well.
I mean, I was the one who did it, and I feel kind of satisfaction. Now I think that you know, I have this daughter who was determined to never act until David Milch wanted to write for her, and then suddenly she wanted to act, and she's, you know, had been moving along, but she really needed a vehicle to really, you know, to really show what she could do, and lo and behold, surprising to both of us, because Dawn was really looking for another part, but she came in and auditioned and got the lead, and that's life changing, and I'm very, very happy about that.
That's really, it's funny though that you mentioned that like people don't really recognize you, because I went on IMDb like just to like look up some stuff, and under your profile it says best known for, and it doesn't have any of the Chucky movies.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, he does have quite an impressive
Oh
career.
no! Oh yeah, no, I know that, but I just found it really funny because like for like horror fans, like a lot of them, they'll like know you from Chucky. Like that's how they'll like determine you. And
I have to say, I did a play this summer, and it was, and that meant that people knew exactly where I would be, when, and when. And I signed a lot of autographs leaving that theater. Most of them were Chucky.
Yeah.
Most of them were Chucky.
Yeah.
So Chucky fans are the most determined of the fans that I have.
Yeah.
So I think we're running out of time. So my brother, he's 18, and he's still kind of afraid of the Chucky doll that I have in my room. And for a long time, I had to keep it actually in my closet. Why do you think, like, because he didn't even see the films, and he was just afraid of it. What do you think it is about Chucky that really resonates with people and really scares them?
Is that for all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was probably afraid of dolls to begin with. You know.
Actually, no. He's not too afraid. He really was afraid of that. And I mean, he's seen clips of it, so he knew of Chucky. Now he's able to watch the films, but he used to be terrified of it. He actually ripped the legs off one of mine, so that way it couldn't get to him.
Yeah. Well, he's not the only one. You know, a lot of people either destroyed their Chucky dolls or their My Buddy dolls or their other comparable dolls when they were kids, ripped their heads off, buried them in their backyard. So he's not alone in that fear.
I think that, I think there's also just something really primal about it, that just dolls in general, because they're distortions of the human form. They're effigies, and there's, they look human, but not quite right. And I think that if you, look at that in a very specific kind of light, as Brad, likes to say, when the lights go down, the shadows come across, that there's just something almost Freudian about it. It's called calorophobia. Fear of dolls.
I think there's a shadow. I mean, we are animals, and we have our DNA tells us to be frightened of predators, because once we were vulnerable to predators, and we were afraid of being eaten. So I think the whole horror genre is based on that. And certainly when you're a child, that fear is kind of projected on a lot of different places. And like you say, at night when the shadows go down, it's dolls. People I know, take their dolls to therapy. I know somebody who did take her doll. I mean, she was at a therapy session. The doll was right there, and the therapist was sitting where you are now, and there was, serious work being done about hence a movie.